Hi, and welcome to the Barn Bash.
Welcome to the Barn Bash.
Hi, welcome to the Barn Bash.
Hi, welcome to the Barn Bash.
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 To the Barn Bash. Welcome to the Barn Bash.
Welcome to Family Pathways Virtual Barn Bash. Now, the barn isn't virtual. We're here at the Erickson Farmstead in Isanti, but the bash is virtual this year. We think you're going to enjoy it almost as much as if you were here. By the way, my name's Ken Stone. I'm going to be your host tonight. Most of you probably know a bit about Family Pathways. You've seen their thrift stores. Some of you might not be familiar at all. No matter who you are, I think you'll end up learning something about Family Pathways tonight that you didn't know before. You're also going to hear more music from the Scally line and even get a line dancing lesson. And we hope to raise a bit of money. So you might want to find your dancing shoes and maybe your wallet. Family Pathways has been standing side by side with their neighbors since 1978. For more than 40 years, they've been helping folks in the city of Forest Lake and 7 surrounding counties: Carlton, Chisago, Isanti, Kennebec, Mille Lacs, Pine County, and also Polk County, Wisconsin, which means no cheesehead jokes tonight. But we might talk about that Aaron Rodgers situation. Family Pathways has 3 main areas of focus: access to healthy food, domestic and sexual violence prevention and victim support, and also the needs of older adults and caregivers. We're going to talk about all these things tonight with people who have helped and who have been helped. We're going to start with taking a look at access to healthy food. Last year, Family Pathways provided 2.5 million meals through its stores and various food distribution events. Think about that number. 2.5 million is sort of hard to grasp. So let's listen to a story from one woman who Family Pathways has helped.
Hi, my name is Tricia, and I want to talk to you about what Family Pathways has done for me and my family. I guess to start, I would have to tell you a little bit of who I am. Well, I'm a minister's daughter and granddaughter. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a construction worker, an owner, or used to be. I'm someone who helped people get cars that couldn't afford it. I worked with the military overseas for several years. And then, due to the great sense of humor of the great outdoors, I ended up with cancer. My granddaughter needed a place to stay due to the difficulties in her family and her situations. And so I had to add on to a 6-figure income budget with under $1,000 to pay for that. And thank God there was people like Family Pathways, the food shelf, with all of the aspects of things that it is. I walked through that door, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago as a disabled person who still had so many bills. I couldn't afford gas, I couldn't afford groceries in my budget, and my credit cards maxed to the limit. And in a humanitarian effort on their part, they serviced me with fresh produce and being able to select my own groceries and the individual care and smile that made it possible for me to have the best quality of life. And even when a pandemic hit, they had to pack my food and bring it out that door. But because they took time to know me and what me and the kid really needed, they were able to fill my boxes with fresh produce and with protein and with no pork and still make them very personalized. And this year, during the pandemic, somebody made an Easter basket for my granddaughter with mostly toys in it. Can you imagine a food shelf doing that and not just handing you a box of whatever they thought you wanted to have? Wow. It's the gas cards, it's the gas coupons, it's the movie tickets, it's the groceries that give us the fresh produce that I can afford, that makes Family Pathways what it is today. It's a humanitarian effort. And I hope that you will look at this and know that it's not just for the person who wants to watch soap operas. It's for real people to live a very high quality of life thanks to somebody doing what God has put in place for them to do. Please donate.
Kathy Wills is Director of Food Access for Family Pathways. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
The pandemic, Kathy, how did that affect your programs?
It really affected our work totally. Food is not just giving out food to people. Food is getting to know your clients, talking with them when they come in. What resources do they need? How can we help you? The pandemic came, we had to close our doors to our clients. We boxed up food. They had no choices in their food. We brought it out to their car. We could see the fear in their eyes, like many of us had at first. And then the loneliness set in for especially our seniors that needed to speak to somebody. And talking through a window glass is not the same as talking to someone like we are today. And what we found is we miss them as much as they miss us.
So a lot of people are thinking, pandemic is almost done, problem solved.
No, problem is not solved at all. The food insecurity issue was here before COVID. It's here during COVID. It's going to be here after COVID. When we open back up, we're still going to see people who are food insecure and need the resources. They've been getting a lot of extra money right now. When that goes away, I think we're going to see many people that are really still hurting.
Can you give me an example of one?
Well, one of them's kind of a positive, actually. We had a client who was with us for a number of years, and she came in one day and she said, after she shopped, she said, "I'm here to tell you goodbye." And we thought, what? And she said, "I'm moving closer to my daughter, and I just wanted to say thank you to you." She said, "My husband left, my world went into chaos, but you were always there for me. You were the constant in my life. You helped me, you told me where to go for things as I needed assistance." And she said, "I'm going to miss you guys dearly." Our coordinator, meanwhile, went to look up the food shelf that would be near to her, and kind of the tears were flowing, and our coordinator said, "Here's where the food shelf near you is." And she started to laugh and said, "Here I'm saying goodbye and you're still helping me." That's what we do.
Kathy, thank you.
Thank you.
Family Pathways had 981 volunteers in 2020, a lot of them working in the food programs. I can't help but think it was a volunteer who made that Easter basket for Trisha's granddaughter. Family Pathway volunteers are awesome. We can't do what we do without them, but volunteers can only do so much. Family Pathways needs money as well, and that's why we're asking you right now to think about 2.5 million meals. Think about the cost of all that food. Think about what that food provides, not just a full stomach, but something more. Think about Trisha, and think about what you could do to help. You can see the thermometer on this webpage. Can you move that mercury up just a bit? Last year, 17% of Family Pathways revenue came from grants, money from local and state government, COVID relief funds from the federal government, and also money from foundations. But you know who provided even more money? You did. 21% of the revenue came from individuals who jumped online, who wrote a check, who opened their heart. 21% of Family Pathways budget. That's more than $1.5 million. That is an incredible display of generosity. But that was 2020. It's now 2021. If you're able to help people like Trisha, now's the time.
Our communities are changing, but the needs of our neighbors stay the same. There will always be hard times, times when communities must come together. Family Pathways provides a path forward for families and individuals in crisis. Since 1978, Family Pathways has been working with our community to enhance lives through essential services. We have adapted to the needs of our neighbors in a changing world. But we still have work to do. Together, we can give hope, break cycles, and move forward. When we stand by the side of our neighbor, our whole community grows stronger. Stand with us.
The man who is currently head of Family Pathways is Tony Buttacavoli. He's been on the job for only 6 months. You came from the Isanti County Department of Health. So you're all about community health and also cowboy hats, I see. Nice.
That's right.
Family Pathways seems to be the little organization that could. What attracted you to it?
Well, I can tell you from my years of experience in the Central Region that Family Pathways is not only the organization that could, but will continue into the future to help our neighbors and stand alongside them. So that was attractive. I've known Family Pathways as a stable, compassionate, giving organization in East Central Minnesota. And of course, when I had the opportunity, along with the staff I've worked with over the years, I jumped right on it.
People are talking about recovering from the pandemic, and they tend to think of it in terms of months, but it's going to be longer than that, right?
Right. Every disaster we know has a life cycle. There's the response and recovery. Recovery is always twice as long as the response. So unfortunately, we know we're 1.5 years into this, so we can expect the recovery to be years from now.
Which leads to compassion fatigue. It's tough to keep telling folks, hey, people are hurting.
Right. Yeah, so staff, especially in nonprofits, we have to worry about compassion fatigue because they're coming in every day passionate, giving themselves, helping others. So we have to make sure we're watching out for our staff, making sure that they're reflecting on their own self-care. And we can do this. Family Pathways has for the last 40 years. That's a ton of resiliency, and we're going to use that into the future.
The importance of volunteers, we mentioned them just a little bit ago, almost 1,000 volunteers last year. They really are important.
Volunteers with Family Pathways is the largest and most diversified volunteers I've seen in my last 20 years. And so we have a lot of capacity, and I just want to thank them for their time, energy, and their talent that they bring. They're really the backbone of Family Pathways.
Anything you'd like to add before you go?
Welcome everybody tonight for the Barn Bash. I'm happy to be here, and we'll do it again next year, but hopefully in person.
All right, Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you have a question about Family Pathways, you can go to the chat function right now. And of course, you can email Family Pathways any time of the day or even pick up the phone. And again, if you're able to help move that thermometer just a bit, help your neighbors out just a bit, please do so right now. If you just logged online and are not quite sure what this all is, welcome to the Family Pathways Barn Bash. We are at Erickson's Farmstead in Isanti. We're here to listen to some great music, learn a bit about a great organization, and even take a line dancing lesson. Really, that's coming up. But we're also here to raise awareness and raise some money for Family Pathways. Family Pathways started in 1978. It helps neighbors in the city of Forest Lake and 7 surrounding counties, including Polk County in Wisconsin. Now, not to brag, but earlier this month, the Forest Lake Area Chamber of Commerce designated Family Pathways as its nonprofit of the year. We are proud of that. Thank you. So far this hour, we have talked about Family Pathways' work in the area of food insecurity. A second area of focus is our aging population. More than 500 aging adults were helped last year. Some were vulnerable adults, some were caregivers. They need food, transportation to a doctor, or help around the house. This area of Minnesota and Wisconsin has always been very self-reliant. But for an older adult, self-reliance is a burden they should not have to bear alone.
Hi, my name is Henry. I have a story to tell. It's not very comfortable, but if telling it inspires someone to reach out for help, or if it inspires someone to support Family Pathways, then I'm okay with it. About 6 years ago, my health took a turn for the worse. Also, my wife is in remission from cancer. Our health issues continue to this day, but what also continues to this day are the bills. You can hardly imagine the hospital bills. Keeping food on our table, not just any kind of food, but healthy food, is a challenge with all the medical and prescription bills. We were down to eating only once a day. Last spring, when COVID hit, we needed to be extra careful. Like so many others in our age group, I'm 82, my wife is 72. Our care coordinator at Fairview Hospital in Wyoming suggested we look into doorstep delivery food, a program at Family Pathways. This is the part that gets to me. My grandparents came from Germany, and I don't know if you're familiar with Germans, but Germans are very headstrong and stubborn. My education growing up on the farm was that you don't ask anyone for anything. You don't borrow anything. You don't have it, you don't need it. You don't even borrow tools. I was told that if it came down to it, we did everything that we could. Families should find a way to provide for it, make do with what we had. It was very hard for me to accept all this help. You have no idea how accepting help by allowing groceries dropped to us helped us feel safer by not going to the store, but also financially. We could use our money not on food, but to pay bills. The food is one thing, but it's so much more than that. I learned many things. I learned I can get help without feeling useless or less of a man. It was okay to receive help or to give help. I kept my worth. I kept my dignity. Today, a lovely couple brings us groceries twice a month. They're so nice. We're on a friendly basis. Never once did I feel they looked down on me. There are not enough words in English language to say thank you to them. I wish there was. But sharing back with them is my way. I enjoyed sharing things with them, like my woodworking and plants. I felt good. I believe they felt good. You can't lose. Also, the food we get is the food we love. My wife makes lots of salads, veggies, and stir fries. We get potatoes and carrots. Nothing here goes to waste. It's God sent, getting us 2 meals a day. Today we can focus on our health and enjoy the nature around us. So many things have changed with us from the doorstep delivery program. It's not just the food, it's about so much more. It's about opening up inside to help, to give, to take. It's taking without forgetting and to give without remembering. It makes my life so much better, like a mystery to be lived instead of always a problem to be solved.
Lise Arsenault-Lee is the Aging Services Manager. Thanks for coming tonight. Henry really isn't that unusual, is he?
Well, no, we have a lot of poverty in our area, and his situation, and they're proud people. Farmers, lots of people have lived here a long time, and they don't want to ask for help, and it's usually a crisis or just kind of a end of your rope situation where they finally reach out.
Now, the service area for Family Pathways is 5,000 square miles, so there is a lot of distance, and that leads to isolation sometimes, right?
Absolutely. I would even say more often than not. Even when you go for a ride and you see the farms are at a distance. Even in town, people living in apartment buildings feel alone because it's not necessary. You can't assume that everyone's friendly.
In this country, the national statistic is 1 out of 5 adults becomes a caregiver. What does Family Pathways do to help? Because that is a tremendous load. People do it out of love, but it's a lot of work. What do you do to help?
So yes, they do it out of love, but sometimes they do it just because they have to. And we have 2 amazing caregiver consultants who work with families, and they help them to kind of navigate that journey and really emphasis on taking care of yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not in a position to care for somebody else.
Lise, thanks for coming by tonight.
All right.
You know, I'm thinking about Henry saying that he couldn't imagine asking for help, or earlier this evening, Tricia talking about how successful she had been earlier in her adult life, but then, as a community, it is part of our DNA. We help our neighbors. They may be too proud to ask for that help or too embarrassed, but we reach out. It's nothing. We tell them, don't worry about it. It's no bother. Most of you know a bit about Family Pathways. You've seen their thrift stores, you've heard about their food pantries, or a friend of yours mentions a volunteer who dropped by, or a program that helped them out. We're asking you to help make all that happen and more. Take a look at the fundraising thermometer on the page and think about the impact that you can make right now. If you just joined us, welcome to Family Pathways Barn Bash. We're here to celebrate the work of Family Pathways and also raise a bit of money and awareness. In addition to food security and the needs of our seniors, Family Pathways also addresses domestic and sexual violence in our communities. Family Pathways has a number of initiatives and programs in this area. Here with me to talk about them tonight, Laurie Quist. She's Director of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services. Laurie, thanks for coming. It's so easy to think that domestic violence is something that happens over there, right?
Right, it's true. A lot of times, it's your neighbor or it's somebody you pass in the grocery store. It's everywhere, really.
Let's talk a little bit about how the pandemic affected your work and domestic violence victims.
Sure. We saw a real decline in persons coming forward to report domestic violence, probably out of fear of being ill or getting sick in the community, which, left them without a place to go, really. Our advocates went to a remote work setting, so they were working from home instead of in the offices. A lot of change.
Yeah, talk a little bit about what do advocates do?
Sure. Advocates really are somebody that gives a victim a voice or helps them gain their voice. They assist them in court, orders for protection, harassment orders. They really just stand by their side at all turns.
And you also have an emergency shelter. Talk about that.
We do. Our emergency shelter has the capability of having 15 women stay in it, as well as their children, capacity of 23 total with women and children. It's in rural Chisago County, but we take victims from all counties.
For people watching tonight, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
There's help out there. We have a 1-800 number. We encourage anybody going through domestic violence to call in a time of need, and we will be there for you.
All right, Laurie, thank you very much. As she mentioned, there is a 1-800 number. So if you need help, please call 1-800-338-SAFE. Making that call takes an act of courage, it does. But we're asking you to call if you need help. There are many people who want to help you. There are several women's support groups. Nothing may be more powerful than the knowledge that you're not alone. And Family Pathways is also working on programs for men. Domestic violence is a tough thing to talk about, and it's a hard thing to raise money for. But if you think about all the people in your life, all the women, all the girls, the boys, the men, you know someone who has suffered from domestic abuse and sexual assault. We don't talk about it, and that's part of what makes it such a lonely place to be. But one of the hallmarks of Family Pathways has been neighbors helping neighbors. I've said it before, it is in this community's DNA. I know her, she needs help. I know him. He's in trouble right now, and now is the time to help them. It is a tough ask, but one thing about this part of the country, the people here have always done the tough things. So I'm asking you to help those people who right now cannot help themselves. Make a contribution. It may not take an act of courage, but that act of compassion will make a real difference. $100 would provide a night of safe shelter along with food for a woman and her children. And it's not just that one night you would be providing. It would be a statement to that family, to that woman, to her kids, that you matter. We want to thank all the people and businesses who have supported Family Pathways over the years. There are way too many businesses to mention here, but I'm going to call out 3 in particular. M Health Fairview has really put its money where its mission is, in community health. They are one of tonight's sponsors, and they have contributed in so many ways over the years, so thanks to them. Polaris is also one of the businesses we need to call out. Yeah, they have big, fast snowmobiles and off-road vehicles that take people places. Their motto is, think outside. But their contributions have helped people in this community over the years, so I think their motto could be, think compassion. And the third sponsor I need to mention is Midwest One Bank. Jason Gamble is Vice President of Midwest One Bank. He joins us now. Thanks for coming tonight. You are also a board member of Family Pathways. Your bank covers a lot of area in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, I believe.
Correct.
A lot of great towns, a lot of great organizations. So why support Family Pathways?
Well, first, thank you. I've got to share for just a second a passion for community banking. I think a part of what I enjoy about what we do is we're a backbone of giving back to the communities we serve. With that becomes, an important task of finding good partners. And Family Pathways is just a perfect fit. We have geographic footprint that overlaps. There's this diversity of services that Family Pathways delivers that just really makes you feel good about giving in the right place. So together those things make this organization a perfect fit for some of the larger donations we've provided.
Because of your job, you're really tuned into the economy, and it is coming back. But talk a little bit about what the needs still are.
Right. Well, first a reminder of where this rebound comes from. The economic downturn was created by this pandemic, a pandemic that grew certain gaps, and it even created new ones. So with that in mind, it actually spells a perfect time to be giving, because those of us that may be able to are finding those in need at one of the times of their greatest need. So again, I just think together, remembering where we've been, it's a perfect time to fill that gap.
You're a finance guy. You often use and look at return on investment, ROI. So what can you tell the folks tonight about the ROI and making a contribution to Family Pathways?
Right. Well, this is one ROI that can't be measured in percentages, right? But nonetheless, making a difference in a person's life is one of the greatest things that we can leave behind. And I just think to spend a moment on actual ROI terms, anytime you can give or make an investment rather in that will return in multiples is a standout return. It reminds me of a prior barn bash where we had a client, a former client, now an employee of Family Pathways, working to give back to countless others. And there's that multiple, that sort of pay it forward that, again, just promises a great return.
Don't go away yet, but we are almost out of time. The Scally line is about to launch into their final closing number. Close our barn bash out with a contribution. $50 would help provide for a man looking to break the cycle of domestic violence. $100 would provide a place to stay plus food for a woman and her children who need emergency shelter for the night. Or think of what that $100 could do for a senior like Tricia or Henry, neighbors who used to be able to take care of themselves and others, but who now need a bit of help. $250 would provide enough food for a family of 4 for a month. Now, maybe you don't have $250 to spare right now, but Family Pathways offers the option of the By Your Side monthly giving club. It's often a more affordable way for you to give. It also has the benefit of allowing the folks at Family Pathways to figure out how much support is coming in and to better plan for the future. You decide how much you'd like to give every month. Your donation will come from your credit card once a month, automatically, and of course, you can opt out anytime that you want. So we are almost out of time. Jason, anything you'd like to add to the folks tonight?
Well, I would just ask that each of those who are watching consider what these last 14 months have taught us all about helping each other through difficult times. And whether that be to give for the first time, maybe challenge those who have given before to consider what they give. I just think that this is, the timing is right, and that I just would add that my time on the board has instilled a certain competence that I had witnessed through this organization over the years. I just want to assure you, you can give with that same confidence.
All right, Jason, thank you. We need to thank all of our sponsors, Jason, Midwest One Bank, Polaris, and M Health Fairview. We need to thank Erickson's Farmstead here in Isanti for providing a place for us to throw our barn bash. And most of all, I want to thank you for watching and for your support that you're able to provide your neighbors and Family Pathways. But that is it for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Ken Stone. To take us out, the Scally Line.